Hello and welcome to my World Cup Predictor, World Cup Russia 2018, where I'll be predicting each of the 8 groups, predicting who will be going through, which teams won't make it, and finally predicting the knockout rounds, where quarterfinal, or round of 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final. I'll predict each of the games, give a little bit of intake on why I pick teams over other teams, and yeah, just overall give you my view on what I think is going to happen in Russia. I apologize in ahead of advance for each of the little clips for each group and knockout rounds. My mic isn't the best, having a little bit of trouble with it, but the show must go on, and with the World Cup days away, yeah, I want to just show what I think is going to happen. This definitely may or may not happen. Some teams that I picked to go through, maybe you don't think are going to go through. It's just the way I think, I suppose, isn't it? And yeah, so I'll be bringing you this. We'll start with Group A all the way through the Group H. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and let's move on to the first group. So for Group A, I have Uruguay topping the group, with Russia slowly just behind in second, and the 2 teams not qualifying, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Now, the reason why I chose Uruguay is I found that they were the most well-balanced and fairly consistent team in the qualifiers for the World Cup. A lot of big names, especially in attack, Luis Suarez, Edison Cavani, as well as Diego Godin in defense. So it seemed, so I'm pretty sure Uruguay will have a fairly easy time progressing into the round of 16 and knockout stages. For Russia, the host nation, mixed with having a little bit like Uruguay, a half-decent team, not as much quality, but a few players that might not get them very far in the deep part of the competition, but enough quality to get past the other 2 sides. Now, what may seem maybe as a shock is not picking Egypt in the top 2, especially with the likes of course, Mohamed Salah after his breakout season with Liverpool. I just don't see Egypt having enough. I think Mo Salah is most of their, 99% of their team. And with him coming off an injury, not too sure if he's going to perform at the same level as he did for Liverpool this year. Just doesn't seem very likely. And for Saudi Arabia, a bit of the same. The squad isn't as well quality as you'd want in a team. And I think against the higher up competition, Uruguay and even Russia, I think they just won't have a chance to do much. So with some of the results here, obviously I think Russia will win the first game, the opener against Saudi Arabia. I think they'll get a win there, as well as the 19th, the Russia-Egypt game. I think Russia will also get a win there, and at the end, on the final day, I think they will lose to Uruguay, and I believe that's where Uruguay will get the top of the group there. But the big match has to be the one on the 19th, Russia versus Egypt. I think that one might be the decider. If Egypt has any chance of going through, I think they have to get a result against Russia, because I don't think they will fare well against Uruguay. Maybe not will Russia, but I think it'll come down to that game being the most pivotal of which of these teams move on to the knockout rounds. So, on to Group B, where I have Spain topping the group with 3 wins of the win, finishing with 9 points. Portugal in second with 4. Morocco in third with 2 points. And Iran finishing bottom of the group with 1 point, which is made up of a draw and 2 losses. This group is fairly straightforward. Spain has an extremely talented team. I'd expect them to make it deep into the competition. I don't think they'll have any trouble with the group. Their only main struggle might be Portugal. If they happen to lose against them, it might be tough for them to try to finish top of the group. But besides that, I can't see them getting knocked out due to Morocco or Iran. So it seems pretty comfortable for them. Portugal can be very tough to decide on. Obviously, in the Euros, where they had drawn so many games, just got into the knockout rounds, and then from there, just kind of beat people by 1 goal. They didn't really have any big games that they beat people by. So for that, I have them in second. Morocco in third. I think they'll beat Iran. They may give Portugal some trouble. And the only reason that would be is because besides Spain, they have the current longest unbeaten streak in all of international, between friendlies, everything else. So it might give them a little extra momentum going into the World Cup, and there is potential that maybe they upset and finish second, and Portugal ends up finishing third. It's tough to tell right now, but I definitely say the match of the group stage, in Group B at least, is Spain versus Portugal. Big game. If Portugal can beat Spain, they do have a good chance to finish top of the group. If they can beat Morocco, beat Iran, and even beat Spain, finish with 9 points, it's definitely possible. A big player about Portugal's success will definitely be Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, from the season he's had kind of a slow start, picking it up at the end of the season, and as well just from last Euros being a fairly influential part of what happened. Obviously, he got injured in the final, but stuff happens. He'll be a big part of Portugal's success in the World Cup this year, and this might potentially even be Ronaldo's last World Cup. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll find out afterwards. And obviously for Spain, David De Gea is going to be a big part of what happens in Spain's success. Obviously, great season with Man United, followed up by fairly good Spanish international career. Obviously, had the one mistake a couple weeks ago against, I believe it was Poland, but I could be wrong. And yeah, I think Spain and Portugal are the two main favorites, and I see them going through in Group B. So, for Group C, I have France topping the group, 3 wins out of 3, 9 points at the top. Australia finishing second with 4 points. Denmark in third, 2 points. And Peru finishing bottom of the group with 1 point. Now, starting from the top of the table, France, I think France will comfortably get through. They have a team that has a lot of experienced, maybe a little bit older players, but as well they have a lot of good youth that can make a great impact, and they have a really good depth squad. So I think for that reason, they'll definitely comfortably make it through. Australia in second is a little bit of my upset kind of pick. I think they'll get a win against Peru. However, I think they'll draw against Denmark and then lose against France, obviously. But I think the game that's going to make the biggest difference of who goes through is the Australia-Denmark game on the 21st. I have it as a 0-0 draw, but if Denmark wins, they could definitely be the second pick and Australia be third. However, I think Australia and Denmark will tie, meaning Australia goes through. As for Peru at the bottom, they have an alright team. Obviously, qualifications for them aren't the easiest. However, if they really stand any chance in the group, they don't have to mind about France, but about Australia and Denmark, if they want to get through to the next round, they have to beat one of them. And I think their best bet may be beating Australia. I think it may happen. This is just the way I'm going to go with it, is that I think Australia will finish second. Just a gut feeling about it. And yeah, key players to look for, definitely Paul Pogba. Obviously, after a 50-50 season with Man United, Had some great games, then kind of had a rough little patch. He could definitely be a good difference for France in their midfield. And as well, in Denmark's case, Christian Eriksen, who has come off a very good year at Tottenham. A bunch of assists, bagging in a few goals. I think he might be the difference of whether or not Denmark can finish third, or if they can bump it up and make it into second. As for Group D, I have Argentina going through, top of the table with 7 points, Croatia in second with 5, Nigeria in third with 2 points, and Iceland finishing bottom of the group with 1 point. Now, Argentina obviously haven't had extreme success in the World Cup in the past. Obviously, finishing in the final against Germany was pretty big. But as of recent, it seemed like a one-man show with Lionel Messi obviously leading the charge. He's probably one of the major reasons why they're even in the World Cup right now. Obviously, qualifiers did not go very well for them, just basically getting into the World Cup. But I do think that they'll have a good group stage. Not much competition, obviously. Probably Croatia being their next biggest rival in that group. Nigeria and Iceland being at the bottom, they're both not terrible teams, but I think against Argentina and Croatia, teams that have world-class talent, teams that are built pretty well, I think they'll struggle to find a win against them. And even if they manage a draw, I don't think they'll go through, mostly because I don't think anyone will overpass Argentina, and I don't think anyone will overpass Croatia. My game of the group would definitely have to be the Argentina-Croatia game. I think that, much like Group A, and I believe in Group B I picked, it could be the game to see who goes top of the group. If Croatia wins, obviously they have that advantage on Argentina. It'd be tough for them, whoever loses that game, to end up finishing top of the group. But, I think it's more of a two-team group again. And I could definitely see Argentina and Croatia finishing in the top two, both with their great talent and just with World Cup experience. Most of these players have played in the World Cup before. They've gone into the knockout rounds. They've played. I just see Croatia and Argentina finishing in the top two. So, on the Group E, where I have Brazil winning the group 9 points, 3 wins out of 3, finishing perfect. Serbia in second with 6 points. Switzerland in third with 1 point, just getting ahead by goal differential on Costa Rica, who will finish just behind them, still with 1 point, but finishing fourth. Now, this group could go any way. I think Brazil favorites to win the group for a good reason. They have extremely great players everywhere. I think they're a team that, if they don't finish at least in the semi-final of the World Cup, I think it's a disappointment. I think they have great players in attack, great players in midfield, great players in defense. I think more experienced players in defense, which will probably help them towards the latter part of the knockout rounds, and a good young goalkeeper in Ederson. I think they have a great team. They have a lot of young players that will be very influential, not just for this World Cup, but in the future. I think they have a lot of talent, and just for that reason, well, for those reasons, I'm going to put them in top of the group. Now, with the second spot, it's really any difference between Serbia and I think Switzerland. And that's why it's my game of the group, is the Serbia-Switzerland game. I have Serbia going through in a 1-0 victory. However, it could go either way. Switzerland, fairly great players. I mean, obviously Shaqiri is a big name in this team. But with Milik, Blaszczykowski, and just a bunch of handful of quality players, they may beat Serbia. But I think Serbia has the bigger advantage with the likes of Nemanja Matic and Milenkovic-Savic. I think are the two players that are going to pretty much bring them a level up, get them to win over Switzerland, and I think by that point the gap will be too big to try to make a difference. And yeah, I don't see Costa Rica making a big effect. I can't see them beating Brazil. They may pull out a draw against Serbia. That's maybe as far as I could see it, but I don't see them going and finishing second, especially seeing Serbia's team and Switzerland's team. I can't see it. So for that reason I have them in fourth, but obviously the most influential part of this group will be Serbia against Switzerland. Either of them could go through. I have Serbia going through on this one. So, on the Group F, where I have Germany topping the group 7 points, Mexico in second with 5, Sweden in third with 4 points, and Korea finishing bottom of the group with 1 point. Now this is another group where we have one really good team above the rest, much like Group E, 2 teams that will be battling out for second, and then one team that I don't think will get much off the ground. They might get a draw, which I have them here doing, but in the end, it'll just be too much for them. They won't be going through. So Germany, just like Group E with Brazil, I think they have the best team here. Again, same thing like Brazil. If they don't finish in the semifinal or better, I think it's a disappointment for them. Great team everywhere, from goalie all the way up to striker up front. Just a well-built team, well-organized team. Obviously, with them being the winners of the last World Cup, brings upon a challenge for them to keep the title as theirs. I think they'll definitely do it in the group stage, without a doubt. I don't think I could see Mexico and Sweden both trumping Germany. At the very least, if Mexico finishes top of the group, which is the only other team I could see happening, then Germany would be a guaranteed second. I just can't see them. There's upsets, but with this team, it would take a monumental collapse for them to finish out of even the top 2 spots. So my game of the group would have to be the Mexico-Sweden game. It's the last game of the group stage, and it's definitely the biggest one. I think it's the game that, when you look at how the group is shaped, Mexico and Sweden will be close enough to each other that whoever wins that game, if there's a winner, ends up going through. I think Mexico will be just ahead by that time, by the end of it. So even if Mexico pulls out a draw, which I have them doing here, they still go through. However, it could go either way. Sweden could end up going through. I think I favor Mexico's team a little bit more than Sweden's, especially that Sweden won't have Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I think will be a bit of a struggle for them. I think Mexico, Chicharito Hernandez, he'll do a fairly decent job. I think he'll get a goal here or there. But I just see Mexico going through ahead of Sweden. Korea, I can't see Korea going through. I don't think they'll beat Germany. I do not think that they're going to beat Mexico. And I don't see how they're going to end up going through. They could maybe try to pose a threat for Mexico and finish second, but I don't see the quality of their team over Mexico's. Could definitely happen, but I think Germany's team will definitely be going top of the group and making it onto the group stage, or the knockout stage. Now, on to Group G, which I think might be one of the more larger groups of the group stage. I think compared to other groups, they have 2 teams that are very good, very talented, very well organized, that really either of them could manage to win the group. Unlike some other groups that are one team group, one team's favorite to go through for a reason. I think this one could go either way, but I do have Belgium winning 3 games out of 3, beating England, Tunisia, and Panama, finishing top of the group. Good goal differential. I just think compared between them and England, I think Belgium has the bigger advantage. I think up front they're very similar. They have, Belgium has Lukaku, England has Harry Kane, Belgium has Eden Hazard. England has the likes of Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling, Jesse Lingard. Just they do have a lot of talented players. However, I do see Belgium having a much deeper squad than England and just a slight more talent that I could see Belgium topping the group. England finishing second. Now, the interesting part of this group, and it is my game of the group, is England against Panama. Much like, and this kind of goes back me as an Italy fan, Italy would always have two games that they tie back to back, and they would either need, they would need a win in the final game against a team that wasn't very talented. And each time you saw it happen, they'd end up playing extremely underperforming. They'd end up drawing the game, not making it through to the knockout round, or just barely making it in. I think England might have the same effect, where they'll end up drawing to either Tunisia or Panama in the group stage. It will be one of those performances that obviously a lot of criticism will be had. I think if it's going to happen against anyone, it won't be their opener against Tunisia. I think they'll get a comfortable win there. But I think Panama, something about that game just speaks of a draw happening, and that'll be Panama's only point in my World Cup prediction. But I just see England having trouble for some reason against one of the two smaller teams, and in that reason I think it's going to be Panama. Tunisia, I think, will end up beating Panama, and they might just barely pose a threat for England if they really have a big collapse. But I can see England and Belgium going through. It's the two obvious teams for obvious reasons. And yes, I see the two of them going through to the knockout rounds. And finally, on to Group H, the group where I think could definitely be the most entertaining group. It's got a lot of talented teams. I think every team has a chance at qualifying, but I do have Colombia and Poland finishing top two. Colombia in first with 7 points, Poland in second with 5, Senegal finishing just behind in third with 4 points, and Japan bottom of the group with 0. Now, my reason for this, and the reason why I did pick a team, I did pick Poland and Colombia over Senegal, is just because of the main talent. Obviously, Senegal, Sadio Mane had a great season. They do have the likes of Koulibaly, but I don't think Senegal has enough quality talent to, in the odd chance they don't have to rely on Sadio Mane in attack. I don't think they have enough to upset a lot of teams. I think they'll beat Japan, but I don't think that they will get a win, a definite win, over Poland or Colombia. I can at least see it being a draw, maybe even a loss, in the case of I have Senegal drawing to Poland as my game of the group. The only way I see Senegal going ahead and getting into the knockout rounds is if they beat Poland. It'll probably end up being, it is my game of the group. I have it being a 1-1 draw. It's the opening game, so obviously if Senegal can get off to a good start, their next game is against Japan. If they can get that win against Poland, come back on the 24th, get a win against Japan, puts them at 6 points, they'll be pretty much going through. Mind you, any bad mistakes that they may make against their final game against Colombia. But I just don't see Senegal going through. As for Colombia, I think they'll beat Japan on the opening game. I think they'll draw with Poland. Could definitely be a win for Poland and them finishing top. But it's just the way I see it happening. And then Colombia just getting through by Senegal 1-0. Poland, same thing. I think they'll beat Japan. I think that they will draw against, obviously, Colombia and draw against Senegal. And I just don't see Japan getting much luck. Obviously, they have a half-decent team. They have a few players that could, if they decide to break out and have a wicked World Cup, that they might be able to push for a second-place spot. But I do have Colombia in first, Poland second, Senegal third, and Japan fourth. And those are my two teams going on to the knockout rounds, and it is finally time to break down which teams I think are going to get knocked out and which team is going to win the World Cup.
So, let's begin with the round of 16. The first draw, Uruguay against Portugal. I'm going to have to choose Uruguay to go through on this one as a 2-1 result. I think Uruguay's attack will just be too much for Portugal's defense. And I think Portugal, even though coming off being Euro 2016 champions, I don't think they're going to have enough, and I don't think Ronaldo's going to be able to produce enough to see them through to the quarterfinals, so I have Uruguay going through there. The next draw, France against Croatia. I'm going to pick France going through. Feel very comfortable about this one. I think France has a better depth team. I think Croatia has a lot of main stars, but I do not think that they have enough to upset France, so I am going to pick France for that one. Brazil against Mexico, another fairly easy one, I think. I picked Brazil going through on a 3-1 result. I think Brazil, with their attack, very good midfielders, very good defenders, even in goal. Another team that has great depth. I think one of the top 4 teams, I want to say. There's probably 4 teams in the World Cup that have brilliant depth. Even in the bench, they have a lot of great players, and I think Brazil's one of them. I think they'll have no trouble with Mexico, and they'll go through to the quarterfinals. And the other result on the left side, Belgium against Poland. I think Belgium will get the result, 2-0. It'll be a comfortable result for them. I just see Belgium. They have a lot of firepower up front. Pretty good midfielders, and I don't think the 3 in the back that I believe they're going to use will be threatened at all by the Polish attack. Obviously, Robert Lewandowski, big player, big name player, scores goals, but I don't think that Poland's going to be scoring that game. So Belgium going through. And now to the right side of the board, Spain against Russia. I think Spain will get through. Obviously, recently with the hearing of the Spanish manager now joining Real Madrid, it might feel a little bit hectic there. And the last-minute decision to pick who's boss, get everything sorted out. But I think they'll beat Russia. They'll obviously have a well-depth team. Again, one of those 4 teams that I think has brilliant depth besides their starting 11. I picked them in a 3-0 result. I'd say expect them to win by at least a few goals. If you're going into the betting circumstance, I don't think Russia's going to get to the quarterfinals. I can't see it personally. Now the big upset I have of the round of 16 is the Argentina-Australia game. Now I think my reason behind it, before I get hate for it, is I think Argentina will come off 3 games out of 3 wins, group stage. It's a high, good feeling. Everyone's feeling positive. And I think Argentina's defense is going to let them down immensely. I don't think they're going to play extremely well. Nothing against rivalry or any kind of... There's no rivalry or anything here. But it's just that I believe Australia, while they don't have a great team compared to others, I can see an upset happening in the round of 16. A little bit like the Iceland-England kind of situation in the Euros. And I think Argentina, if they go through, have a great chance to make it to the World Cup final. But I think that their road's going to stop there. So Germany versus Serbia in the second last fixture. I have Germany going through 2-0. I think Serbia, good team. A few big name players, quite like Croatia, especially in midfield. But I think Germany, another team that has fantastic depth, has a lot of great players. I don't think that they're going to be very well, or very hard. I believe they're going to be very hard to beat, and I don't think Serbia is going to be the team to beat them. And for the last game, Colombia against England, I have England going through. After a semi-good group stage, I think they'll go through. They'll beat Colombia a 1-0, just a small victory. I think it'll be a 1-goal victory or something in extra time or penalties. Yeah, I could see England going through and making it to the quarterfinals. So, now on to the quarterfinals. First game being Uruguay against France. I think France will get through on this one. 2-0 victory. France, well, I believe that the 4 teams going through here, before I go any further, are the 4 teams that have the greatest depth outside of their starting 11. And I think there's a reason for why all these 4 teams make it into the semifinal. So we'll just get started with there before I go any further. But yeah, France will get through over Uruguay, 2-0, comfortable result. I don't think Uruguay will be able to cope, especially their defense and midfield, with France's midfield and defense, as well as their attackers. Yeah, I see France getting through on this one very comfortably. Brazil against Belgium. I have Brazil going through 3-1. I think it's going to be a big game. I think it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath with how much attacking dominance there might be back and forth. I think this will be a very attacking game. And I think if I have to break it down between who has the better defense, Brazil or Belgium, I'm going to pick Brazil's defense over Belgium's. And I might even, on the odd occasion, pick their attack as well. So I think Brazil will get through 3-1 on that occasion. Spain versus Australia, especially with all of Spain's woes happening very recently. Obviously, I picked them going through in the round of 16 against Russia. I think they'll have a fairly easy draw again against Australia. I think they'll beat them 2-0. I think Australia, after being on such a high of beating Argentina, they might have very positive emotions and play a bit better in the quarterfinals. But I don't think it's going to be enough against Spain and just how good their team is and how well structured it is. I just can't see it happening. And on to the last game of the quarterfinals, Germany against England. I have Germany going through and England getting knocked out again. So, I think England, obviously coming off like I said earlier, the so-so group stage, and then winning against Colombia, I think that it'll all be, every England fan will be happy that they beat Colombia, they're going through, they're playing Germany, they beat them before in qualifiers, even though it might have been a while ago. I think they'll have a belief that they can win this game. I don't think they will. I think we'll have another round of people, or English fans, hating England, as we saw in the Euros, obviously with Iceland. And yeah, I don't see England getting past Germany. However, I do see it being a close game, as I have it, 2-1. So now on to the semifinals. Alright, and now down to the final 4 teams. Now the first game, France against Brazil. I'm going to choose France to go through on this one. I have it as a 1-1 by going to pens and France winning in penalties. I think both of these teams, by now all these teams have great depth. They're at the end of the tournament, or towards the end of the tournament. They'll have to go into those extra players, obviously, as injuries and fitness may become a concern. These 4 teams, obviously, really good, each of them in their own kind of particular way. France, I like their midfield and their way of building up play, but Brazil has also something about how they build up play and kind of a quick style, I want to say, of attack. And yeah, but in the end, I see France going through on penalties. I think it'll be a very close game. There'll be a lot of good chances for both teams. But at the end of the day, I do see it going to pens. And if I look who I kind of trust better in penalties between Lloris and Ederson, I'm going to pick Lloris, partly because of the experience, but also being, well, mostly for experience, I suppose would be the way to put it. And yeah, it's just who I would pick in the penalty shootout. I'm going to pick France on this occasion. And for the other semifinal game, Germany against Spain, I have Germany going through to the final. Spain, I do not see having enough to beat Germany. I think Germany's just, the way Germany plays is very, they have a great defense. I think one of the better defenses in the World Cup. Especially with Boateng and Hummels, both being Bayern Munich players, obviously playing against each other a lot in the Bundesliga. They have a lot of experience playing with each other, against each other. They have a good bond. And I think their midfield and attack may just be too much for Spain. Obviously, David De Gea will be very busy, I think. I think it'll be a 2-0 result for Germany. However, this could also go to extra time. This could very well go to extra time, actually. I expect Germany to be 1-0 up and be one of those games where Spain gives it everything at the last minute and Germany goes down and scores just that sealing goal in, 93rd, 94th minute. It'll be a fairly close game, quite like the France-Brazil game. I don't think there'll be anything surprising about it. But at the end of the day, I just see Germany beating Spain and making it to the World Cup final. Alright, now on to the third place game, Brazil against Spain. I'm going to pick Brazil to go through on this one. And on top of the scoreline, I'm just going to take a second dose of attempting the impossible and even guessing the goal scorers on this occasion. I think this game will be a lot based on how well a team can defend. I think both teams are well sorted enough in attack, and especially in their build-up through the midfield. I think Brazil will, my guess, I think Brazil will get the better of them, of Spain. 3-1 result. Goals coming from Firmino, Marcelo, and Gabriel Jesus, with Spain's goal coming from Isco. I think this is a game that might go 1-1 in the halftime and then Brazil taking over in the second half. Or it could be even a game that Brazil's up. It could even be 3-1 at half and Brazil just kind of defends and coasts out the result. I think I like Brazil's attack a little bit better than Spain's. And yeah, I just see them winning the third place game and finishing in third. So, on to the final of the World Cup, where as you can see, I have Germany taking it over France 2-1. I think this game will be a very neck and neck, next goal wins it kind of game. I think both these teams, they're very hard to split. I think France, obviously coming off runners-up in Euro 2016, obviously they'll want to set it straight, get a win. A World Cup would be great for them. However, Germany's team, even back in 2014, the World Cup, they just have such a good team. And if I'm not correct, I also believe France was the ones that knocked out Germany, if I'm correct, in the Euros. I believe it was the semifinal. But I think Germany, they're just a great team. They have a lot of great players. Most of their players play for top-level clubs, whether that be, Bayern Munich, even Borussia Dortmund, teams in the top 6 in the Premier League. I don't believe there's anyone from the Serie A, or even, I'm just thinking about it, in La Liga. But they just have a lot of great... Oh, actually, yes, Toni Kroos from Real Madrid. But I do not believe France will have enough. I picked my goal scorers here: Griezmann, Muller, and Timo Werner. I'm thinking France will go up 1-0 in the first half. They'll have a good first half. Germany will play good as well, but there will always be that kind of... You'll just figure Germany's going to score. They're going to play well enough that you just know the game won't end 1-1 or 1-0. You know that there'll be another goal at some point. I have Muller scoring in the second half, making it 1-1. And I think, as my prediction states, Timo Werner will score the winning goal where it be in the second half, 70th, 80th, anywhere's in there a minute. I think as well, Germany for me needed one player, and that was, well, based on their 2014 and 2016 campaign, and that was a striker you could put up front, either by himself or in a duo, but someone that is quick, someone that has a good shot, and someone that can kind of wrestle you off the ball a bit. And obviously Muller, being fairly young, obviously, at the last World Cup, I think I like Muller's shot. I like a little bit of his passing and dribbling, obviously. I just didn't find he was quick enough. And with a lot of teams, and the way a lot of teams play nowadays, is with a quick striker up front, someone that they can lob balls over the top to. And I think Timo Werner might be the case of being a dual threat for Germany. Now they're able to pass the ball around more, or they were able to pass the ball around more before, but now just with the added fear for France of anything over the top. Germany never really liked to play many things over the top, many balls. They couldn't really get people in behind. They're more of a passing team, kind of like Spain. Wait for you to give up a good opportunity and they strike on it. Whereas a lot of teams might play quick, try to play quick through balls. Germany's more of a passing and moving team. I think this gives them an extra threat. I think France, even though they're talented in attack, obviously in midfield, defense, all of that, I think it'll be very upsetting for them again, but I do think that they will get knocked out. It's sad to say for them, obviously, 2 main finals in a row and missing both. Argentina can kind of agree with this with the Copa America. But yes, so I have Germany going through. And that is all of my World Cup predictions. I thank you so much for watching. I hope most of these come true. It'd be cool if some of these did. I think Germany and France would probably be one of my main bets of something to happen. If anything that I predicted, as crazy as it sounds, were to happen, I think Germany and France are 2 teams that you could pick at any point winning. Obviously, even with Spain and Brazil, any 4 of those teams could win the World Cup. But just the way I see it, Germany and France, Germany takes it. And yeah, also, if you want, comment down below with your prediction. Who do you think is going to end up winning? And yes, I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.